Good evening, everybody. My name is Brad Cromas. I'm the county treasurer in Portage County next door here. So I just am glad to be with you tonight. I bring greetings from Senator Brown. He really wanted to be here this evening, but as you are probably aware, there's this little thing going on in Washington right now around some court. So he is a little bit busy this evening. He sends his regrets, but I do have a message to share with you on his behalf. So I will try to do that while my silent partners remain silent over here. And I appreciate you making some space for us to do that this evening. So I will resist the temptation to use my Sherrod Brown voice and just read it to you. Dear fellow Ohioans, from our rivers and lakes to our farmlands and open spaces, Ohio's natural environment is one of our most unique and valuable assets. We have a shared duty to protect them today and for future generations of Ohioans. Nowhere is that responsibility clearer or more important than here in the Portage Lakes region. The Portage Lakes provide a home to countless species. We take pride in their beauty, and we are better off for protecting them. The Portage Lakes give our families a place to learn and get outside, and by ensuring that all Ohioans can visit and enjoy them, we support our local outdoors and tourism economy. Making sure that all Ohioans have access to a safe, healthy environment should never be a partisan issue, which is why I have worked whenever possible with Senator Rob Portman and with colleagues from both parties to defend our environment. I am proud that we have been able to come together again and again to protect Ohio's lakes and waterways. Most recently, we have done this through the bipartisan farm bill that we passed in the Senate. Together, we fought back attempts to cut funding from the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, and as a member of the Senate Agricultural Committee, I introduced and helped pass the GROW Act to make sure that we are doing all we can to improve soil quality and minimize agricultural runoff. I've also worked with Senator Portman to combat the spread of invasive species like the Asian carp that threaten Lake Erie and waterways across northern Ohio. In order to keep our rivers and lakes free of unwelcome species, we need to make sure that we are armed with the best possible information. That's why when we came together, we also passed legislation to release the Brandon Road Study, which will help us protect our native species. In order to protect our environment, we need to build stronger, more resilient infrastructure. I have long supported efforts to do this, and to make sure that when we invest in our infrastructure, we are honoring Ohio's manufacturing history by using American-made materials. Not only is the choice between protecting our environment and building an economy that works for all Ohioans a false one, but we can actually create good jobs and opportunities for working Ohioans by protecting our environment. It's on all of us to ensure that all Ohioans have access to a safe, healthy environment. Excuse me. I take that responsibility seriously, and I will always fight for clean air, safe water, and healthy, vibrant open spaces like the Portage Lakes. With your help, I know we can succeed. Sincerely, Sherrod Brown. Thank you again. Appreciate you making the space, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you and good evening. It's great to be here with you, and thank you to all of you listening through the broadcast. I'd like to share with you a bit about my background, my experiences, what I believe, what we've accomplished so far in the legislature, and a look ahead, and all that in 4 minutes, so I'm going to get going. In terms of background, my passion growing up was always math and science, so I followed that passion and I became a mechanical engineer. I got my bachelor's of science in mechanical engineering from Tufts University and worked at Westinghouse Power Generation Service Division, repairing power plants across this nation for 4 years. After that, I went and I received my MBA from the Wharton School of Business and then joined McKinsey & Company. It's a management consulting firm serving clients across the globe. I met my husband Eric there, and Eric and I have been married for 22 years, and we have 3 wonderful girls, Catherine, Caitlin, and Christine. The 2 oldest are in high school, and then the youngest one is in middle school. And Eric and I are raising our girls on our small farm in Hudson, Ohio. My entrance into politics came in 2005 when I was elected to Hudson City Council on a platform of fiscal responsibility and open and transparent government. So I served on Hudson City Council, was elected twice, and then entered the race for the General Assembly in 2010 for my current State House seat, which I currently hold. Won that seat in 2010, and we got right to work. So what I believe in is, in terms of, I'm a conservative, so I believe that the government does not create jobs, but the private sector does. But what government can do is create a stage that's inviting to business. So that means we cut taxes, regulatory reform, and just create this environment, and the businesses will be attracted and the jobs will come. We got to work doing that, and the results have been astounding. We cut taxes for every single tax bracket in the state of Ohio. We reduced taxes for small businesses, and we eliminated Ohio's estate tax. And I personally sponsored the Common Sense Initiative, which spearheaded regulatory reform in the state of Ohio. The results have been impressive, with over 520,000 new jobs being created in the private sector. Ohio's unemployment has gone from 9.3% down to 4.5%. And our unemployment rate, from 9.3 down to 4.5. With fiscally conservative principles, we brought the rainy day fund from 89 cents to $2.7 billion, and these results are being noticed across the nation. The CEO magazine ranks states, and they had Ohio at 43rd in the nation. Now we're 10th. So I'm proud to have been a part of that success story, and I know we still have a ways to go. I won't stop until we're number one. Another passion of mine is ensuring that all of Ohio's children have access to a quality education. So I was a primary sponsor of House Bill 2, which was recognized as Ohio's landmark charter school reform bill, and it earned me the Akron-Beacon Journal endorsement in the 2016 race. Now, while it was a great improvement, I know there is still work to be done, and I plan on continuing to lead on that issue while I'm in the Ohio Senate. I am a principled conservative. I believe in lower taxes, smaller government, and I am pro-life. I work well with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to get things done. My current House district is a competitive one, yet I've won it 4 times in a row because I work hard and I've served my district with integrity. I love Ohio, and I believe in our state motto, with God, all things are possible. I want to thank you for being here this evening. I invite you to learn more at my website at ChristinaRogner.com. And I respectfully request your vote on November 6th for Christina Daly Rogner. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to the Advisory Council and for all of you for coming out, and for all of you candidates who regrettably have to wait in line as we all do 4-minute speeches. My name is Chris DePizzo, and I am the Republican nominee for Congress in Ohio's 13th district. A district that may be a little foreign to the folks in Portage Lakes and Barberton until the 2012 redistricting lopped them in with Akron, Youngstown, and Warren, and had some far-off congressmen ruling from Niles. I'm originally from Youngstown. I'm the first in my family to graduate from college, and then with the help of scholarships, I went on to the University of Pennsylvania Law School with a certificate from the Wharton School of Business. And I'm not a very likely candidate for Congress. I began my career at Jones Day in Cleveland, fell for a girl in law school who ended up in New York City, and I followed her out there. And last year, as young couples do, we got engaged and decided to get married. And we got married, thankfully, in Cuyahoga Valley National Park, a place we had enjoyed while my wife was in Cleveland with me. And so, wanting to stop working 18-hour days, we decided to move back home and bought a house near the park, and all things were set for Chris to start a 9-to-5 life. And then one day we went to the Canfield Fair, which is one of the larger state fairs, and I met with some government officials, Democrats, and they said, please run against Tim Ryan. We heard you're thinking about it, but you should do it. He doesn't meet with us. I said, okay, let me think about it. Went home, talked to the wife. 1 month later, I announced my candidacy for Congress. And I'll tell you, when I went to Columbus and I met with Jane Timken, she thought I was absolutely insane. She said, this district is cut for Democrats. And I said, yeah, but John Kasich won it in 2014, and Rob Portman won it in 2016. And I worked for Rob in D.C. for 6 months. I think I can do a good Rob Portman impression. I think I can cut through that district. And I've spent the last 10 months doing that. I proudly knocked doors in every county and every community. I've knocked in Portage Lakes. I've knocked in Barberton. I've looked to see, hey, who elects Democrats at the local level but Republicans in the Senate? And why do they do that? And it's about going door to door and talking with folks. So with over 10,000 doors under my belt and a lot of miles in the car, I've learned a lot about this district. And yeah, it's cut for a certain reason. It's cut because a lot of the district lacks economic opportunity. This district's actually lost 40,000 jobs since 2002, which is incredible during economic boom in a state that is actually growing. You wouldn't know it by looking at the district, which has also lost at least 25,000 people. So in 2022, it will be redistricted. But while we're here, while we're fighting for it, let me tell you what I'm about. I'm about jobs and economic growth. And I'm about voting the way in Washington I want my community to grow. So that means backing community banks. It means helping businesses grow, and it means spearheading economic development efforts. I've already began, but I pledged to meet with all 70 communities in this district to lead their economic development efforts, because I want to be on the same page as them, to use the soft power of the office of the congressman. That also means being open and transparent. I pledge to do at least 4 town halls a year as a congressman in person, and I plan to stick to that pledge, because I think people should know what their congressman does, and then, in fact, they should also know how he votes. And I plan on posting all of my votes on my on my congressional Facebook page and website. And this isn't novel. Other congressmen and women do it, but it just makes sense. So I ask you when you go to the voting booth in November to take a look at Krista Pisa for Congress. I hope I can earn your vote. Thank you, and God bless.
Sir, I have one quick question. Back when President Obama first became president, Nancy Pelosi first became Speaker of the House,
Yes, sir.
the first thing they started with was cap and trade.
Right.
And I saw the U.S. Treasury Department document on the Glenn Beck show, the estimated cost per household at $1,700 a year in energy taxes. Didn't clean any water, didn't clean any air. Tim Ryan voted for that.
He did?
So are you? Yes, he did. So are you going to tell everybody about that? Because nobody knows about it. Nobody, and you know, how many of you guys want government taking $1,700 a year out of your budget?
I'll give you the 15 seconds. To show you how partisan that was, Sherrod Brown voted against cap and trade because it said it would cost 100,000 Ohioans their jobs. Tim Ryan and a lot of other congressmen who no longer have a job from the state of Ohio voted for it. It was a bad bill then, it's a bad bill now, and all it's going to lead to is unemployment in the state. So,
Exactly. That's why they.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry for the attire, but 530 miles, but I made it. Back home. That's what I do, big circles. So I have an issue, and it's 42. Here in Coventry Township, when I got elected, I guess a little over 4 years ago, we were hemorrhaging cash pretty good, and we were looking to cut wherever we could cut. And we looked for an increase in our general fund levy right off the snap, and it was shot down, which is fine. I mean, that's what's cool about township government. You tell us what you want spent, and we spend it properly. With that, we had to not mow the parks, not do the maintenance, and I met with all the ball teams, and we became a tight-knit community, and everybody stepped up, and the ball teams took care of all the mowing and maintenance and that kind of stuff, and they've done a phenomenal job. I mean, the trustees, Tom Cease mows, I pulled weeds, and you know, we made it happen. So, but after 3 years of that, the ball teams are a little stressed, and instead of playing around on these, it's nice to have them outside, and we haven't touched the infrastructure in these parks in probably 30 years. So we come up with a $500,000 levy, not that much, it's like $18 on a $100,000 house, but it'll give us about $110,000 a year. I'd like to put 60 or 70 of that and just start redoing each park and then take over the mowing back from them. They've paid their dues. The township financially is in a lot more stable condition than it was 3 to 4 years ago. We definitely headed in the right direction, and just asked that it's small levy. Let's give our kids a little bit of a break, and let's get our parks tuned up. Appreciate your support on issue 42.
Thanks to all of you for being here this evening, and thanks to the Portage Lakes Advisory Council for giving all of us the opportunity to speak to you this evening. My name is Catherine Michael, and I am currently an Akron Municipal Court judge. I was elected in 2005, 2012, and 2017. I love my job, and I love doing what I do. And the reason why I love doing what I do is because I get to help people where I am. If a person has a drug issue, then it's up to me to try to find the right programming for them so that they can have the opportunity to get clean and sober. The same with someone who has a problem with alcohol. it has been my privilege this year to be the presiding judge of the entire court, and this is the third time that I've been elected by my peers to do that have that administrative position. I'm also, for the last 9 years, the presiding judge of the Family Intervention Court, which is a specialized docket for domestic violence cases. These are the cases I have a passion for because I know that if I can break the cycle of generational violence, then it doesn't continue. So I try to work with offenders, and I try to work with families, and I try to have peaceful resolutions for them, trying to get the offender the treatment that they need so that they don't continue to act in the way that they act that hurts their family. I know that studies show that the single most important factor to domestic violence cases are children who witness domestic violence in their homes growing up. It's the single strongest correlator to both the victims and the perpetrators of domestic violence. So if I can stop one generation from continuing that behavior, then the children don't model that behavior, and the generational cycle ends. I'm running this year for Common Pleas Court because Judge Gallagher, who is retiring at the end of this year, is the only Common Pleas judge in the state who is the presiding judge of a Common Pleas domestic violence program. And I would like to see that work continue because I know how important it is. It's important to our community that families be peaceful because families are the foundation of our community. And if problems in the family can be solved and that family becomes a peaceful family, then our community becomes more peaceful. I'm asking for everyone's vote. The judges are at the bottom of your ballot, right in front of or right before the issues. And you have to remember our names. My name is Catherine Michael, and I'm the woman with 2 first names. And I would appreciate your support this year so that I can continue the work that I've been doing on the municipal court bench, on the Common Pleas bench. I'm asking for your vote, and I'm asking for your support. And for those of you who don't catch me after our meeting today, this meeting, you can send me questions to my email address. It is votejudgemichael@gmail.com. Votejudgemichael, and it's spelled just like the first name, @gmail.com. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak with you tonight. Let me introduce myself. I am Tom McCarty. I am running for the open seat of the Summit County Court of Common Pleas. There is no incumbent. The judge is age limited. I am a former judge of the Akron Municipal Court as well, and there I was the former presiding judge of the Akron Municipal Drug Court. Now, I think of municipal court in the time that I was there is it was a learning experience. Municipal court is kind of like the minor leagues. You learn stuff there, but basically we dealt with sinners and debt collectors, and that's most of what we did. But for 34 of my 36 years, I've practiced in the Common Pleas Court, where I'm hoping to practice now. I've been in many courts in the state, Common Pleas courts in the state. By last count, it's 45 of the 88 counties I have actually been in those courts. Where I am now is I'm an assistant attorney general for the state of Ohio. In essence, I represent you, the citizens and the taxpayers of Ohio. I have tried cases all the way from traffic court all the way up to the Ohio Supreme Court. In one particular case of which I'm quite proud, the Supreme Court declared my case that I had lost at every single level until the Supreme Court. They declared that court to be the seminal case in this particular area of law that I practice. Now, that particular court has been cited 175 times in various other courts from the law that I made. I am smart, collegial, I have common sense, and I have knowledge, and I've handled all sorts of cases in the very court that I now seek to have you elect me to. 34 of my 36 years in the Common Pleas Courts. I am a lifelong resident of Summit County. That makes 60 plus years in Summit County. I went to grade school, I went to high school, I went to law school, I went to college, all here in Akron. I worked my way through school. I even paid for some of my college or my high school. But the long and the short of it is, I have been here working amongst you, and I have represented you all sorts of matters, and I'll get to a couple of those in just a second. I have raised a family, 2 darling daughters. I'm very proud of them, and I've been married for 25 years to my dear wife, Judge Allison McCarty, whom you may have heard of. When someone comes to the Common Pleas Court, it's serious business, whether it's criminal or civil. It's the most important criminal cases. It's the most important civil cases. And those are the kinds of cases which I have handled for years. I treat all the parties with dignity and respect, and I can help the parties to resolve matters, but if they cannot, then I will see that they get a fair trial and that it's done in an efficient manner, and it will be upheld on appeal. Real quickly, 3 stories on Portage Lakes Drive. In college, I worked at Honey Baked Ham, and I would make deliveries to Handy Jim's right down the drive-through down the street at the other end of Portage Lakes Drive. My 2 daughters took Irish dance right there at the O'Hare School, right where the center of Portage Lakes Drive is. And I've been in this room a number of times, Board of Zoning Appeals, helping residents build garages and things, adding on to their homes in the Portage Lakes, and this is where they have those hearings. I think I know your area a little, pretty well over the years. Tom McCarty, candidate for judge of the Summit County Court of Common Pleas. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dave Lombardi. Wanted to go over a couple things with you. Judge races are difficult to know who to vote for. As by way of background, though, I was born and raised in Akron, lifelong resident for 55 years. I went to Walsh High School, then went to Miami of Ohio and studied business finance and graduated in '85. Then I went to law school and graduated in '89. And then I went to work for Judge Glenn Morgan, who's a common pleas judge who's now passed away, who gave me a great start in legal knowledge and experience in research and writing and all the things that you do in a common pleas court. From there, I went into private practice, and I was a trial attorney for the next, well, until 2015, so 20-some years. And I handled all sorts of cases, all the types of cases that come before the Summit County Common Pleas Court, because that was my realm, if you will. As you know, the serious criminal cases are handled in the Common Pleas Court. I've tried virtually every kind of case that there is at least once, and that's important to you. And it's important to you because you want someone taking the position of judge that's been in the position of litigating those matters, making those objections, understanding what rulings need to be made and what jury instructions need to be given. And I think because of my experience as a trial attorney, I bring that to you as relevant, what I call relevant experience for the job. In 2015, I was an Akron Municipal Court judge, and I enjoyed that very much. I was there for the better part of a year and presided over thousands of cases and had a reputation as being hardworking and being respected. And I would ask you if you know anybody of the Akron Municipal Court who's still there, whether it be judges, police officers, or staff members, they can attest to the fact that I'm very diligent in the work that I do and in the work that I did for the municipal court. So, by way of background again, I'm skipping around. I'm married to my wife Robin for 23 years. We have 2 sons, Leo and Max. They went to Akron Public Schools. I was on the Akron Public School Board for a year and a half to 2 years before I was appointed to the Akron Municipal Court bench. They are now attending, my boys are attending Akron U and studying medicine and engineering. So a lot of what I do is for them, including the school board. My kids went to Firestone High School. By way of what this position's about, I I can tell you that I was somewhat inspired by my grandfather. He was a common pleas judge in the 60s and 70s. I'm going to hold up for you his retirement article. And there's a picture on the far right that's me at age 14 shaking his hand. And, you know, he led me to want to aspire to be a judge. We went to his courtroom. We saw what he did. We got scared when some criminals he was sentencing were shaking their fingers at him or making other threats. But him, along with a long family history of lawyers. My father's a retired Buckingham attorney. My twin brother is an attorney in downtown Akron. We have 7 attorneys in 3 generations, and they've given me a good example in camaraderie and doing what's right for our community. Again, we've talked about why I'm the best choice. I think relevant evidence is important. I've made objections as an attorney, and I've ruled on objections as a judge. Finally, the Akron Bar Association takes some of the work out of selecting an attorney or a judge, and you can go to their website and see how they've rated everybody. I've been rated 2 times excellent, which is the highest rating by the Akron Bar Association, and that's by my peers, my lawyers, who are rating me. So I'd respectfully ask you to go to Judicial Votes Count, because I think that's a good place to get information on candidates, and I respectfully ask for your educated vote on November 6th. Dave Lombardi. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Kelly McLaughlin, and I'm a candidate for judge in the Court of Common Pleas. I'm currently the Chief Magistrate in the Summit County Domestic Relations Court. I've been a magistrate there for about 8 years now. I have decided as a magistrate over 7,000 of the most difficult, contentious, and emotional cases that come before our court system. I've developed a reputation for being a fair and even-handed decision maker and for having a good judicial temperament. These cases that we deal with in domestic relations court are tough, and I've learned how to manage a docket, I've learned how to move cases to settlement, and I've learned how to try cases. And I've decided over 7,000 of those cases in my time on the bench. Now, prior to becoming a magistrate, I was in private practice for 23 years. I was a trial attorney. I tried both civil and criminal cases, and I've handled pretty much every kind of case that comes before a common pleas court judge. One of the things that I'm proudest of is that for 18 of those 23 years, in addition to my private practice, I acted as a guardian ad litem for children in our court system. And it was the experience of being a guardian ad litem that really taught me how to think like a magistrate and how to think like a judge. I am a proud graduate of Mogadore High School. I went to the Ohio State University for both my undergrad degree and for law school. I come from a family where public service is not just a tradition, but a necessity. And I would very much appreciate your vote on November 6th. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank the board members, my fellow colleagues, for putting on this event and having us all speak today. It's a great public service. My name is Judge Jill Flagg-Lanzinger. I am one of your 10 Summit County Common Pleas Court judges. Prior to being the Summit County Common Pleas Court judge, I was the elected judge at the Barberton Municipal Court, which is this Portage Lakes District. While I was a judge at the Barberton Municipal Court, I founded and presided over the Barberton Municipal Drug Court. If you don't know, a drug court is where you have participants come to the court and receive treatment, and if they complete their treatment and get sober, then they avoid having a criminal record or having a more serious sanction like jail time. Right now, as a Summit County Common Pleas Court judge, I preside over very serious felonies like murder cases, rape cases, robbery, aggravated robbery, and very serious civil matters like wrongful death, medical malpractice. We are a trial court, so I hear trials. I did spend 10 years as a trial attorney prior to becoming a judge. I've been a judge for nearly 4 years now. In February it will be 4 years. While I was an attorney, I was also a substitute magistrate at the Akron Municipal Court, hearing traffic cases and small claims cases. I also was a guardian ad litem for abused and neglected children. I have some highlights of my legal career, and that is I won a Supreme Court case, an Ohio Supreme Court case, giving sex abuse victims more rights. longer times to file lawsuits. I'm endorsed by many mayors and community leaders around the community. I'm also involved in many charitable organizations like the Portage Lakes Advisory Council. I am the vice president of the organization that's putting on this candidates night tonight. I'm also on the Polar Bear Club board. That's the organization, as you all know, from the Portage Lakes that puts on the Polar Bear Jump that raises money for all the local charities. I'm an Akron Rotary member, a member of the Kiwanis. When I was in law school, I was on law review, meaning I was in an organization for people who graduated or who were in the top 15% of their class. I also graduated from college in 3 years instead of 4 with 2 majors, political science and psychology. I am married to Dr. William Lanzinger, who is a hand surgeon who is very active in the community as well. He is the chair of the Autism Society. We do have 3 kids. Our middle son, who's 12, has autism, so we're very mindful of that issue and work diligently to help people with disabilities. I have a 14-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old son. We live on the Portage Lakes. I respectfully request your vote this November to keep my seat. Please remember to keep Judge Jill. If you want any more information about me, you can go to my website at keepjudgejill.com. You can go to my Facebook page, it's Judge Jill Flag Lanzinger, or you can go to my Twitter account, it's Keep Judge Jill. Please remember to keep Judge Jill. Thank you.
Good evening. Like everyone, I just want to thank you all for being here. I know there's a lot of stuff you could do on a Thursday night. Probably some Thursday night football starting pretty soon. But thank you all for taking the time to be here. My name is Susan Baker Ross. I'm candidate for the Summit County Court of Common Pleas. People often ask us why we're running for judge. I've spent the last almost 27 years developing the experience and knowledge needed for the Common Pleas Court. But I want to share a little bit about my personal experience, which I think really gives me some unique perspective from the bench where I'm currently serving, and will also give me that perspective at Common Pleas Court. I am a childhood trauma survivor, and I am a recovering alcoholic. 29 years ago, I was in court for my second DUI, and a judge was really hard on me, and it really made me think, what are you doing with your life? I was in law school at the time, and I just didn't, I really wasn't thinking about my future. So that judge really made me take a look at my life and what I was doing. As a result of that, this year I celebrated 29 years of sobriety. And that judge, in my opinion, saved my life. I went on to obtain my law degree, and since then, I've spent, as I said, almost 27 years serving as an attorney, and now I'm currently a magistrate at the Akron Municipal Court. I have lived paycheck to paycheck. I have dealt with issues of childhood trauma. I have grown and become the person that we need to serve on this court. I have served as a prosecutor with the Summit and Portage County prosecutor's offices for over 13 years. During that time, I handled high-level civil litigation, including civil rights and employment law matters in federal and state court. I also handled contract disputes and workers' compensation cases and personal injury cases. Many of these cases are what I'm going to be handling when I'm elected to the Common Pleas Court. The last 6 years I've served as a magistrate at the Akron Municipal Court, and I feel like that's where I've really rounded off my experience. As a municipal court magistrate, I've handled everything you can handle in municipal court. I've even presided over the recovery court for Judge Oldfield on occasion when she was unable to be there. I currently serve as the Akron Municipal Court Magistrate, and I really, the Traffic Court Magistrate, and I really enjoy that. One of the things I noticed when I was serving in that position on a part-time basis was that we have hundreds of people driving without a license in Summit County. And it was like they're on a hamster wheel and they couldn't get off. And so I have implemented and I administer a program which allows these folks time to get their license valid and rewards them with a dismissal of their driving under suspension charge. It's like a mini specialized docket that I run. And we've had hundreds of people come back, folks who haven't had a license for their whole life, 50-year-old men who are like so excited to show me their driver's license picture. You know, I mean, who does that? So I really enjoy that. But I want to move up and take all of my experience and take that to the next level at the Summit County Common Pleas Court. I have spent thousands of hours volunteering over the years. I also currently serve on the Summit County Opiate Task Force. I have worked hard to develop the skills that are needed, and I would just like to ask, with over 25 years of proven service, I would ask that you would look for the judicial races and vote for Susan Baker Ross for judge. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. As you can probably tell already, the judicial candidates are limited in what we can say to you. We cannot speak about issues before the court or issues that might come before the court. But we can talk about our judicial philosophy. And my judicial philosophy is that I believe that our court should be available and open and have adequate access to all the litigants that come before the court. And that is the reason why I am running. And I think it's a two-way street. I think that the people who approach the court and need to use the court and litigate their cases in our courts ought to be able to get there and get all of the information that they need in as many languages as we need to provide to make it available to them. And I think that the people who serve in the courts, our judges specifically, ought to be out in the community, making connections in the community. So it's a two-way street. And that's what brought me into public service to begin with. I was living in a neighborhood in Cuyahoga Falls, where I'm a resident, and in our neighborhood was a deteriorated shopping complex, you might have heard of it, called State Road Shopping Mall, and at the time it needed to come down. But there was a lot of rumors going around and no one really knew what was going on with it and no one knew what to do with it. So one of the reasons I stepped up to run for city council that year was because I wanted to be involved in that process, and I wanted to be a liaison between my neighborhood and the city, the people at City Hall. It was interesting to me when I came in here tonight and talking to some of you that that's what this group is all about. You're a liaison between your governments and your neighborhoods. We do now have a neighborhood ambassador program in Cuyahoga Falls, but we didn't back then. So it was extremely important, I thought, that our government officials reach out and touch our lives and that they make themselves available to us. And it's refreshing to me to see that groups like this still exist. So I ran for city council. I was president for 2 years. I'm currently serving as the clerk of courts for the Stowe Municipal Court. I think you're in the jurisdiction of the Barbardin Municipal Court, I'm pretty sure. And what I want to explain to you is that there are 3 levels of courts, so that you kind of have some sense of knowing who we are and where we're at in the court scheme, so to speak. Barbardin Municipal Court is the court that you would go to if you have a misdemeanor or a contractual issue where the amount in controversy is $15,000 or less. If you have a felony or if you have a matter of controversy of $15,000 or more, you're going to go to common pleas. You're going to meet with one of these people who survived their elections in November. If you don't like the decision you get in Barbardin Municipal Court or the Common Pleas Court, you can appeal that court to the court I'm running for, and that's the 9th District Court of Appeals. Has anyone here heard of the 9th District Court of Appeals? Anybody know where it's at? Okay, we've got a few people out there. Since I've been running, it's been pretty common knowledge to me from the people I speak to that not many people do know about the 9th District Court of Appeals or where it's at. So one of the reasons I am choosing to run for this seat is to make it more available and to make it more connected to the community it serves. It's a very important court. It is the court that is one step below the Ohio Supreme Court. You've all heard of that one. That's the highest court in our state. And the Ohio Supreme Court doesn't accept every court or every case that's appealed. And as a matter of fact, it takes a very small fraction of cases. So oftentimes, it's the Court of Appeals where the case is decided finally. And that is why it's so important. So I want to invite you all to come out and see us at other engagements that we have. We're going to be out probably every night of the next 34 nights until the election. I have a Facebook page as well. I certainly will stick around and talk to you and answer any questions that you have. But please remember Diana Colavecchio in November. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming this evening. Thank you also to the Advisory Council for holding this event. So I'm the last judge candidate you're going to hear from this evening, which is important that you hear from all of us because, as my opponent said, there are so many things that we can't say. And I think after hearing from other judicial candidates, explanation is in order as to why. But first, I should probably introduce myself. I'm Judge Jennifer Hensel. I am one of 5 Court of Appeals judges on the 9th District Court of Appeals. The 9th District covers all of Summit County, Medina, Wayne, and Lorain counties. I'm the only judge seeking re-election for another 6-year term on that court. There is a good reason why your judges and judge candidates cannot tell you certain things, like their personal opinion on matters of public importance in government, because it would not be fair to you, and this is why. A judge sits to follow the law and the Constitution and to review each case thoroughly. The judge makes a decision on that case based on the law, not based on political ideology, which holds no patronage in a court of law, or the judge's personal opinion. So if you if you ask the judge his or her personal opinion on something, and that judge holds the same personal opinion that you do, and that judge tells you that, you may vote for that judge or judicial candidate because you believe they are going to decide a case in the same way that their opinion and your opinion would compel them to do so. But that's not going to happen because the judge needs to follow the law. So that's why there's a whole host of questions out there that are very valid, legitimate questions upon which your judges and judicial candidates have opinions but can't tell you because it's unfair to you as the voter. As the Court of Appeals judge for the last nearly 6 years, I have been twice elected a presiding judge and administrative judge by my peers. I have been rated excellent as a judge in this capacity by the Yakima Bar Association. During my tenure and under my leadership, I have changed the local rules to allow electronic filing, an accelerated docket, as well as an email notification service of our decisions. I have, in addition to that, worked at the state level with the Ohio Judges Appellate Association to promulgate recommendations to the legislature on future legislation that is pending that affects the courts, as well as to work on a focus group to see if there are any tweaks or improvements that can be done to the workload of your judges in the state of Ohio. I have once served on the Ohio Supreme Court by assignment of the Chief Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court, and I have several times served in other appellate districts by the Chief Justice's appointment. We have done several things to make our court more accessible. We have online filing, as I mentioned. We also have a little tab on our website called Representing Yourself. You can see sample briefs, you can see sample motions, you can read all the rules from the website, and we also now post our oral arguments on YouTube. So you can watch an oral argument if you wish to. It's important to understand when you talk about the 9th District Court of Appeals to understand that when we hear cases in Summit County, we sit in Summit County. When we hear cases in the other counties, we sit in those other counties. Again, I'm Judge Jennifer Hensel. I'm seeking re-election to the 9th District Court of Appeals, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. It's a wonderful experience to be here in the Portage Lakes area, as I am locally from the area, being raised in Greene, Ohio, being a 4th-generation Greene High School graduate. I'm here on behalf of Anthony Gonzalez, who's running for Congress in the 16th Congressional District, which encompasses New Franklin and parts of the Portage Lakes with the city of Greene. I am an Akron Zip, like so many of you in this room and a lot of the candidates here today. I'm also a young professional working and living in the 16th District, having worked alongside many of you in this room on different initiatives, whether that was with community partners or promoting policies that reward hard work and innovation, and also helping out with the drug courts here in the community. I'm here today to represent Anthony because I feel that Anthony is the best choice for Congress. He embodies the American dream. Anthony has a work ethic, the intellect, and the vision to propel Northeast Ohio into the 21st century economy. Anthony will care for the most vulnerable in our population, like the elderly, the ill, and the drug addicted, by creating pathways to sustainability for our Medicare and Medicaid programming. Anthony truly cares about the issues facing everyday Ohioans and has the skills to get things done, which includes reaching across the political aisle. However, one thing is for sure, Anthony will never sacrifice his convictions or his community. I know that Anthony is willing to work. You don't make it to the highest level of your profession, trade, or education through laziness or complacency. Anthony played in the NFL. He attended a top 5 business school, both Ohio State and Stanford University, and grew a successful business. Anthony will put that same work ethic into representing us in Congress. He will ask the hard questions, do the hard things in order for the people of the district to excel. In this 21st century economy, it's important that we have an educated workforce, which is why workforce development is one of his top priorities. For years, our education system has struggled to meet the needs of our employers, struggled to distinguish itself globally, and struggled to meet the needs of students who have varying abilities. This is an area near and dear to both me and Anthony. Without a solid educational background, neither Anthony nor I would have rose to the occasion and made a difference in our communities. Whether you were raised by a single parent, like myself, first to graduate from college, or you escaped poverty like Anthony's families did in the oppression of Cuba to immigrate here so that Anthony could have a better life, Anthony Gonzalez will represent you and your voice in Congress. I respectfully ask for you to vote for Anthony Gonzalez on November 6th. I believe that he is the right choice for Portage Lakes, he's the right choice for Northeast Ohio, and he will represent us with the integrity that we all expect from our elected officials. Thank you so much.
Thank you to the Portage Lakes Advisory Council for inviting me. I am the candidate for the Democratic Party. Good evening. I actually grew up in Canfield, not too far away. One of my many first of educations, I went to Salem Community Hospital, was trained in radiology and did cardiac catheterizations for years. My family is from the Youngstown area, and I grew up in the area. I live in Westlake now. I have 30 years of healthcare experience. Our country is in crisis at the moment, again in healthcare. I was hoping we had solved this issue. Maintaining the Medicaid expansion for Obamacare or the ACA for the state of Ohio is absolutely something we must maintain. The Medicaid expansion covers over 850,000 Ohioans. It's 2.5 million Ohioans between Medicaid and the Medicaid expansion. If we rescind that, we not only pull insurance away from our working poor in the state of Ohio, we also pull out millions of dollars, of federal dollars, out of the state. And if you don't know, Northeast Ohio is a primary job starter in the healthcare industry. We pull out that federal money along with the Medicaid expansion, with a lot of very good healthcare jobs that surround our community, both within Cleveland and Akron. I know in this area, both Maslin and Ravenna hospitals have had issues. You know, UH picked up Ravenna Hospital. You know, we get into these rural areas where we have deserts for our healthcare systems, where we don't have care. We're losing mothers and babies after childbirth because we have these communities so far from their hospitals. Maslin was recently taken over by the city because they're going bankrupt. These issues keep coming up over and over again because we keep sweeping the laws and the rules about healthcare under the rug. The basics of economy of scale is the more people that are covered by healthcare insurance, the more the costs will go down. That's just pretty basic across the board. We have refused to understand that, accept that, and move forward from that. If we strive to have every American covered by healthcare, it will reduce the costs. So how do we reduce the cost in healthcare? I get that question constantly. The federal government has the rights to put goods and services out to bid. We don't do that with our pharmaceutical drugs. We do that with all the other goods and services the federal government purchases. we have the right to put those goods and services out to bid. So if you are taking cholesterol-lowering drugs, there's probably 7 generic drugs that do the exact same thing. You get a 3-year government contract and the lowest price wins. That's how bids work. It's a very simple, transparent way to reduce healthcare costs in the United States. It has become much more of a donor democracy as of late, and I know many of you noticed that if you donate to my campaign, then I will block any kind of reform within our healthcare system. We are back in crisis yet again. I have lived and worked in this district for over 25 years. My opponent recently moved in from California about 12 months ago. I am running for Congress to represent my community. He is in my community to run for Congress. 30 years of work experience in healthcare, working in and within this community matters to all of you. I can hit the ground running on healthcare and reform our system. My name is Susan Marianne Palmer. I ask for your vote on November 6th. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for holding this forum and giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Tim Pyatt, and I'm running for the Ohio House of Representatives for the 36th District. Once again, my opponent is not present. Unfortunately, this seems to be a trend. I've twice invited him to engage in a forum with me regarding issues that matter to the residents of the 36th District and all of Ohio, but I've received no response. I simply don't understand why an elected representative wouldn't want to hear from the people. I know I do. It's this kind of entitled mindset that's led to the culture of corruption in Columbus over the past 8 years, and the reason Ohio has fallen farther and farther behind on so many fronts. When elected officials no longer feel any accountability and think they can coast by, they get complacent. But enough about who isn't here. I've been married to my wife Jennifer for 12 amazing years. My son Sam is 9 years old, my daughter Abby is 6 years old. For the past 12 years, I've been an attorney representing working men and women and their retirement plans. First, I know so many of you are so passionate about things like the Portage Lakes and making sure they're protected from pollution and contamination. I believe we can find a way to make sure that industrial and business recruitment are done hand in hand with commitment to environmental safety. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I know we can make sure we have high-quality jobs and high-quality environmental standards. Next, I'm an avid supporter of public education. Ohio's public school funding has been unconstitutional for long enough, which is crazy that I have to say that. But when you have one-party rule in the State House with hardly any accountability, you end up with things like ECOT. ECOT took millions of dollars from school children just in Summit County and also contributed over $10,000 to my opponent. In the legislature, I will make constitutionally funding public schools a priority. And that will go from pre-kindergarten to post-high school, including apprenticeship training and career training for students who college just isn't their thing. Now, I've got some firsthand experience with dealing with an outstanding school district. When my son Sam was 3 years old, he was essentially nonverbal, barely spoke. We enrolled him in the developmental preschool through the public schools, free of charge. We had an Excel spreadsheet of all the different signs that he used because we can only communicate with him through sign language. Within 3 months of him being in that developmental preschool, we deleted that spreadsheet because of the amazing work that that public school provided to him. Today, we sometimes have to tell Sam, please stop talking for a little bit. I will fight to make sure those programs are never threatened and never put under any pressure. Finally, we must do something about gerrymandering. Passing issue 1 this past spring was a great start, but we need to make sure we do everything we can. So many districts in this state are gerrymandered, which leads to a constant flow of politicians who feel no accountability. Again, this leads to the kind of corruption and scandal that we see in Columbus. I believe that elected officials and their appointees should be excluded from the decision on drawing the lines. I'd like to see the major parties appoint an equal number of people to a redistricting commission with an emphasis on expertise, gender, racial, and economic equality. Because let's remember, elected officials work for us, not the other way around. Well, when I get to Columbus, I will remember that I answer to the voters. So again, my name is Tim Pyatt, and I'm running for the Ohio House of Representatives for the 36th District. Thank you.
Like everybody else said, I appreciate getting out here on short notice, and the advisory council invited me out here. I'm Michael Sawyers. Currently, I'm your Summit County Councilman for District 7. I represent Barberton, Norton, New Franklin, Clinton, and part of Kenmore. I seek to continue serving the Summit County Council representative citizens of District 7 during these difficult years of reduced budget cuts due to state aids to the counties and the cities. I'm determined to serve the best interest of the working families, senior citizens, youth, minorities, low-income citizens who depend on proper assistance here at the county level. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Barberton. My son was a disabled Marine who died at a young age, raised by a single mom. I was fortunate enough, I was good enough in basketball. I did not earn a scholarship. What I'm about to say, I walked on at Chaminade University in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I worked construction up at American Patio Rooms over there on Waterloo Road for 2 summers and saved my money. My coach left, and then I came back and finished up at Walsh University. And then I got a job at Summit County Juvenile Court. I spent 18 years at Summit County Juvenile Court as a detention officer and as a probation officer. Currently, I'm the Dean of Students at Glen Oak High School, where I handle truancy and mediation issues with young students at Glen Oak High School. I served 10 years at Barberton City Council from 2007 to 2018 when I took the appointment over for Mr. Tim Crawford here in late March. I have 3 priorities as your Summit County Councilman. My top priority is creating and retaining the living wage at high quality jobs that are essential for Summit County workers and families to thrive. I support public and private partnerships that attract the right kind of employers to our communities, spurring job growth and economic expansion. Secondly, I'm a firm believer of safe streets are the backbone of any community, so I'll be collaborating with social services agencies and law enforcement to tackle the opioid epidemic on all fronts. At juvenile court, I was a former member of the Summit Gang Task Force for 1 summer. And thirdly, I'm committed to reinvesting in the much needed repairs of our roads, bridges, and other infrastructures throughout the county. I seek to pave a smoother road for Summit County motorists while improving public safety and protecting long-term viability of these critical public assets. I ask for your support on November 6th for Michael Sawyers, your Summit County District 7 Councilman.
Hi. Thank you to the Portage Lakes Advisory Council for having us tonight. My name is Bethany McKenney, and I'm running for Summit County Council District 7. So if you're a viewer and you're here from New Franklin or Barberton or Norton or Clinton or parts of Kenmore, then I will be on your ballot this November. Many of you know me. I have fond memories of fishing on the lakes when I was little and feeding the purple martins as an adult and attending the annual fish fries. And I do care about the residents' concerns about the dam proposals that are coming up. This council seat was vacated this year and is up for election this November. And the thing I think that is important to remember when you're thinking about county council is that most of the budget is health and safety issues. And I've been a nurse in the community for over 20 years. So I think that makes me a strong addition to council. I had graduated from Akron University. I got my RN, BSN with honors. And then I was a nurse at Barberton Hospital, Akron General Medical Center. And then I worked at St. Francis de Sales, and I'm currently the district nurse of Manchester Schools. I'm also on the crisis response team for schools, and that covers all of Northeast Ohio. I'm an active volunteer in our community. I'm on the Summit County Opiate Task Force. This opiate epidemic is yet another reason why it's important, I think, to have a healthcare professional on county council. I volunteer for Mobile Meals, which delivers meals to the elderly and disabled of this area. I'm on the Norton and Clinton Historical Societies, and I'm a member of the chapel, and I volunteer there. I want to work to reduce the tax burden for residents and seniors. I want to make sure every eligible homeowner gets their 2.5% resident tax discount, their homestead tax exemption for seniors and disabled, and also their parcel combine tax discount. These are the kind of things that can help seniors stay in their homes. I'm an advocate for our safety, local businesses, jobs, and homeowners. We need to keep and attract businesses. We need to work for good roads, good jobs, flood prevention, and promoting safety and commerce. I've been married to my husband, Judge Todd McKinney, for 21 years, and we have 2 children, Selah and Nathan. And every year we sponsor a scholarship to a deserving and needy student in memory of our son, Noah. I have many endorsements, including some local mayors, and I have strong bipartisan support. I thank you for remembering my name, Bethany McKinney, when you vote for county council. If you want to know more about me, you can look up bethanymckinney.com or Bethany McKinney for Council on Facebook. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. For the diehards in the room who've stuck around to the last race we're going to cover tonight, thank you to the Portage Lakes Advisory Council for having me here tonight. Thank you to the fellows at the Coventry Fire Department for letting me use the restroom beforehand. And thank you to the neighbors about 3 houses down who weren't too alarmed that I was changing out of my canvassing clothes into my suit. So thank you to those guys, too. As a full-time prosecutor, full-time candidate, full-time dad, full-time husband, I have learned to squeeze every minute out of a 24-hour day. And if I hustle, I can make it home for my 6-year-old's bedtime. If I were to sit here and tell you all the reasons I'm running for office, I'd take my whole 3 minutes. As a prosecutor, I've seen criminal laws that written just don't make any sense. I'm frustrated as a resident of one of the 20 towns of this district who've seen the community fund slashed by Columbus, forcing towns to make really drastic cuts. But I could talk on and on about why I'm running. When I think about what's the common theme that runs through my campaign, it's something that's on my literature, something I like to talk about. Hard work and a fair shake. A fair shake is making sure that there is one set of rules that applies to everybody. It's pretty simple, but it's not something we always see. Hard work is something that I know very well. My dad worked 12-hour days, 6 days a week when I was growing up. He took over business from my grandfather in 1987. My dad was the only guy who worked there when he took it over. He was the only guy who worked there when he retired. My mom worked when I was growing up. She helped to do the books for my dad's business and took care of me. I started working when I was 15. My dad had to drop me off at the job and then pick me back up at the end of the night. I worked through high school, I worked through college. I graduated with a bachelor's and master's, and I graduated into a pretty rough economy. I worked really hard, but I couldn't find a career in what I majored in. So I went back to school, took out even more student loans, worked through law school. And then I worked at the Summit County Prosecutor's Office as an intern, driving up from Columbus 5 days a week, 4-hour drive a day to pay $5 to park to work for free. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I got a job there when I passed the bar. So hard work is what I know. But what I see a lot in our community in Northeast Ohio is that hard work is no longer enough to get ahead. I see a lot of people who are working hard just to stay afloat, just to tread water. And they're all worried that they don't have something happen to them that's going to cause them to slip backwards. Could be a layoff, could be a car accident, it could be something health related. So when I think about why I'm running, I think about that hard work that I want to make sure gets the reward it deserves. And I think about that fair shake that I think we're all entitled to. The way I want to do that are 3 issues I try and focus on. I focus on public education, infrastructure, and healthcare. Public education is the most important because that's how our children have the tools they need to make a better life. Infrastructure does 2 things. One, it gives us an immediate investment, blue-collar jobs in our area. And secondly, if we do it right, if we invest in our infrastructure correctly, we can lay the groundwork for a new economy for Northeast Ohio. And healthcare I focus on because nobody should see their life go away because they get sick. Having a child with asthma or having a child who needs occupational or physical therapy shouldn't set your budget back for months. So those are the issues I want to focus on. I thank you all for your time. Again, my name is Elliot Kalkovich, and I hope to earn your vote this November. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bill Romer, and I am here. In fact, I've been in this very room at least half a dozen times. I've traveled the 38th District, all through each and every community and each and every school board. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to Case Western Reserve. I was the first person in my family to graduate college. I worked at Ohio Bell, Ameritech, then AT&T for 23 years, and I retired as director of sales for AT&T. Along the way, I raised a family and moved to Richfield, where we've lived for 27 years. It's really a pleasure to be in the Portage Lakes because one of the things I had done is I happened to be elected to Summit County Council. I was elected and served for 4 years. I was the guy that donated half of his salary to charity. And I made another promise. I made a promise that I would go to every community every year. I keep my commitments, and I did that. And that's why I was here in Coventry, in New Franklin, in Clinton, in every other community across the 38th District. That's one of the reasons over 45 elected officials have endorsed my campaign. I work really, really hard. In this campaign, we've already walked to 26,000 doors. And I've probably been at a lot of your homes. You probably had a chance to meet me at your door so that we could share stories, I could learn from you, and you could have an opportunity to meet me. As a certified public accountant, I'm very fiscally conservative. I really try to make sure the taxpayers' dollars are spent as well as I would spend my own dollars. As far as organizations that have endorsed me, a lot of them have. The Ohio Society of CPAs, me being a CPA, of course, but others like the National Federation of Independent Business, the Ohio Chamber of Commerce, the Ohio State Medical Society, because they all know that government doesn't create jobs. Government creates the atmosphere to create jobs. It sets the tone for people to be able to have good paying jobs in Ohio, to make sure that we have lower taxes in Ohio, to make sure that we deliver the services that the residents need. I've worked really, really hard over the years, and now I luckily have the opportunity to serve on the Summit Education Services Center Board of Governors as Vice President. That's a long title for what used to be the Summit County Board of Education. I've taught in the classroom also, since I retired, for 3.5 years almost, primarily for Revere schools. Even as I look around the room here, I see people where I've tutored their kids in upper level mathematics. It's really an opportunity to connect with the public. I coached baseball for 27 years. Last year we had a championship team. That was my one of my really proud moments. Took a team that had not done real well, we meshed, we came together, we won the championship, the Suburban Community Baseball League. Coached soccer for 15 years, and I've really, really been involved in the community in the 38th District, all across the district. As a young man, my father and I used to do a lot of fishing, a lot of boating on Portage Lakes, so I've been here a lot. I would very, very much appreciate your consideration when you vote. I'm Bill Romer, I'm running for the 38th District. Thank you so much.